Please. Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to i.B.Artin podcast.
Welcome back.
So you know I'm Mars. If you're new here, if you're just tuning into the second episode, just a little recap. Last week was just introducing the podcast by itself and introducing you to Kira and I and how we got started with the podcast, how we got here, the influences, and this episode, Church Taught Me How to Art, Part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the context from last week is that, you know, Kira and I were relating to the fact that we're both in the arts, we're both Black, but a lot of our experiences
We're the same.
Yeah. So one of those being that we both were introduced to the arts through church.
Yeah.
And we kind of got into this conversation of like, oh, I know for a fact, like, that's not just us.
Yeah, there's so many other friends that we know that are
Yeah.
Black, and they were like, I started off in praise dance on a church choir. And
Yeah, he's like, I started playing on the piano for the choir or the drums or the guitar or whatever.
church was just, it was coming through. And so
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it a little bit. You guys probably hear a voice in the background. We have a special guest with us, Mr. Kyle Williams. He's going to chime in a little bit, join our conversation a little bit towards the middle. But before we get into that, Mars and I are just going to speak a little bit about our background regarding how church taught us how to art. So I'm actually going to let Mars start us off because... Do you want to start us off? I'm just so giggly. I feel like I'm going to start burst laughing again.
That's so fine.
You know?
I got you.
Okay.
I got you,
I
girl.
just need a second.
That's so fine. So, as you know, grew up in the church. And my attraction to music in general came from watching the musicians in church, who were all pretty much family friends. And my uncle was the drummer who he started learning from my best friend's dad, who was teaching him in church. So for me, the first time I ever saw the violin was in church specifically, and the person who I saw eventually became my first instructor around when I was like 10 or so or 9. Didn't start playing until elementary school with like a group of people, but my family members who are musicians, or I guess if they still consider themselves a musician, most of them started learning in the church. Like my mom started singing in the church. My aunt, well, she's classically trained. She also played in the church and was a music director. Uncle, as I said, drummer. Cousin, her husband, they had like a little gospel group when they were teenagers. They learned how to play in the church. So a lot of my beginnings really start right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how mine is. And so you know that I started off playing violin, and like because it was like passed down through my oldest sister to
That's
my middle
so
sister,
cute.
and then to me a child. Oh,
That's so
girl,
cute.
yeah, it's cute, but I hated it. Fair. I hated the violin, and so we just did. I feel like music was like the main thing of our family at first, but then me and my sisters, we were always in a ton of ministries at church. Like we were the Daniel girls. Like everyone knew our name, and it was wild. It was a time. But we always did, like, along with playing violin, we sung in the choir, we did praise dance. And so that's where I started off, like, doing dance. Also the the pre-K that I went to, I did like the cute little after school dance program, and the lady that taught was actually a member of our church, actually.
That's
also,
so
all of it stemmed from this one church, institution in Houston. And when I first got introduced to dance, like it wasn't really much of a big deal. Like I just did what my parents told me to do, go to after school practice or like go to praise dance, and it just wasn't very serious to me. But then I feel like I had a lot of mentors in the church, and I didn't realize it until like they kind of started like taking me under their wing and molding me. But again, like I didn't realize it because I'm like 7 years old and don't really like know what's happening. I'm still just doing what I've been told. But I'm very thankful for my church. Shout out to Brentwood Baptist because baby, she had my back. But I'm really thankful for it because I don't think I would be where I am today had it not been for the people that like took me under their wings, you know, at such a young age. And they saw a lot in me before I saw a lot in me. Like I'm 10 years old, you know, 7, 10, like don't really know what's going on. But I had this one teacher, she was the leader of like praise dance, but she also was the director of the dance program at PV. And she invited me, I'm like a child. She invited me to go dance with like college students. And I was like,
oh, that's nuts.
I was like, girl, what you mean? I was like, I'm 7 years old.
Oh my God.
And you want me to what? And I remember being so intimidated and I was just like terrified, but she was like, you can do it. And it's like, it's just so powerful. And it really means a lot when, you know, when you don't feel confident in anything, you know, that you're doing at the moment, yet someone sees that, you know, you are more than capable of doing that thing. Like, you know, whenever I'm in a moment of feeling down, like I think about that moment a lot, you know, how this person saw something in me that I didn't. And so again, it just always like stems back to church, you know, being the root of that. And I think another reason why a lot of Black artists have the same like story of, oh, I started off in the church just because of access. Like I couldn't afford to go to these studios like in Houston, like especially the one that all my friends went to when I was in middle school that I got teased about because I couldn't afford it. I was like, it was rough, y'all. Right. But like, I'm like, it was expensive. Like, who finna pay $500 a month for dance training? Like, no. And I don't know how much orchestra lessons are or piano lessons or all that stuff, but I'm like, I'm sure it's all very expensive. And so like, I think that's why the church is so important when it comes to, or it's a very important part of my story because it was the thing that gave me access to the arts when these studios, you know, weren't coming through for me, you know, like.
No, yeah. I definitely feel that because the instructor, the one from church, like, thankfully for her, she was a family friend and I also knew her through church and she was like just getting into teaching. So I was like one of her first few students. So for me, I wasn't paying the price that, you know, I might charge right now, which is, you know, 60, 70, whatever. Her, she let my mom do 30 for like an hour, which I'm super grateful for because that made it affordable in the beginning for me. But definitely the church being like a support system for the arts for us as a kid, like as kids, that definitely reigns true. Like my first little recital, my first little duet or trio, I did with my best friend and her cousin who were also being taught by the same person. And they were like, yeah, we want you all to do this at whatever event, whether it was a regular service or a holiday service or a holiday event. They were like, yeah, we want the kids to do this. Oh, they're playing these instruments being taught by one of our other members. Yeah, come in and play. It could literally, the songs had nothing to do with church.
Yeah.
Not a thing. Not a thing. Nothing to do with church. But they were all like relatively classical-ish. Or they were like, okay, if it was like a Christmas song or a Christmas event, then yeah, that made sense. But all the other times they had us play, it was like, y'all just, this is so cute. Like looking back, I think it's so cute. As a kid, I was terrified.
They gave you an opportunity though. Like that's what's like the most important thing in all of this. Like in it, at the end of the day, I feel like it wasn't about money. Like that's what I love about like the Black community, you know, or like at least my community, like back at home. Like it's an exchange. It's like, you know, you got those people that be like, okay, or I have this best friend, for example. She's like really good at doing hair. And I'm like, okay, girl, so you braid my hair and I will stay up with you and help you write your essay, you know, or like
an exchange.
It'll be an exchange of some kind, and I feel like that's what it was. Like,
we love a barter system.
We love it, baby, because this money, baby, we ain't got it. I don't got it, but but yeah, like it would be like, oh, if your girls come dance at our program, then I will perm their hair, you know, like
that's so cute,
or I will whatever. And it was so great, and I just loved like the support system that I had, you know, and you know,
yeah, and
she got a little special place in my heart.
No, yeah, and it's interesting that like that support came from the church, because I feel like there are so many other situations where people are like, oh, what does that have to do with like the church itself?
Mm-hmm.
But it really comes down to like your church community. And
yeah, it's the community. It's the community. Like we're not here talking about religion.
Not
like
at
we're
all.
Not
at all
talking about like
it's the community. It's the community of it specifically.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes,
we love a realization last minute.
Yeah, because it is separate, and I don't want people like listening and being like, oh, you know, thinking that we're talking about like a certain religion, and it's like this religion is what provides you that support, because that's not it at all. It's the community and. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I think Black church community is
it's very arts oriented. If we're being honest,
it's arts oriented, and it plays a significant role in our history as Black people in the United States. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to
get into it yet.
We're not going to get into that. But
say, let's get into it.
Kyle, you're gonna get us off.
He's so ready. He's so ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we'll get into that another day, because that's like,
oh, that's a spiel.
That's a history lesson right there. But I'm gonna shift us a little bit, because I want Kyle to start sharing with us. But because we started in the church, mm-hmm. and at a very young age, and considering the fact that we've continued to explore a career in, you know, these fields of music and dance. Mm-hmm. Mars and I, as we were discussing this episode, we began talking a lot about identity, and how when you're introduced to something at a young age, how it becomes a part of you. Mm-hmm. So much to the point where if you get older, once you get older and say come to a point where you want to take a break from it, for example, like how, you know, once I came to school, making that choice between joining a dance company and choosing my education, like it was very hard for me to step away from dance, because it's so interlocked with my identity. Like what we were asking ourselves, like what would it look like if I didn't find my identity in dance, or Mars mm-hmm. didn't find her identity in music? And we were like, well, you know, we can kind of talk about it and explore the what ifs, but we don't actually have that perspective mm-hmm. of it. And so that's why we wanted to bring in our special guest, Kyle, because he can, I think he'll do a great job of providing us that insight. So yeah, let's Kyle, would you like to start off by telling us just like who you are, and if you have what's your background in the arts, and like how you got started?
Yeah. So hello everybody. My name is Kyle. I am from Florida. I'm a Florida boy. And
come on, Florida.
Come on, we rep Florida. We rep Florida. I'm a first year in the master's program in clinical psych right now. And I met Kira through a mutual friend, and then Kira ended up introducing me to Mars. So we've just like ended up forming a great bond, the three of us.
We love y'all.
Here.
Love y'all.
Love it.
And I'm super excited to be on the podcast to talk with you guys. It's awesome to.
We're so happy to have you.
No, really.
It's so cool. So cool. And I was a pianist for about 10 years. I started in third grade, I think, with like around 8 years old, mm-hmm. and I ended up playing until I was 18, until I graduated high school. So it was a big part of my identity for a very long time, and now I don't play anymore. Mm-hmm. And having you guys like talk about this, bringing me on the podcast, it's like brought back a lot of memories from playing the piano, and it is crazy to kind of just like reminisce on like all those past things, like how much time I spent playing the piano, and just like how different it is now from me like not touching one in a long time.
Yeah. Did you feel like in those, how many years is that? What, 3 to 8, 18?
3, yeah, that's about
15 years?
Well,
Well,
no, third grade. So
Third
you're about
grade,
8. So
babe.
it's about
like 10.
3 to 8.
Yeah, 3.
Ooh, 3 to 8.
Like, man, you didn't
You
play
know
the piano.
You know what?
Playing
It's-
Moonlight's not at 3 years old.
Ooh, imagine.
Prodigy.
Yeah.
In those years from 3rd grade to age 18.
Yeah, till
Okay.
12th grade.
There we
Yeah.
go. Did you feel like you identified as a pianist? Because I know, like, me and Mars were talking once, and anytime I went somewhere and someone asked me, who are you? Who is Kira? I was like, I'm a dancer. That was it. You know, like,
Yeah.
identity was in just dance in and of itself. Like, I didn't think about any other things in my life. It was just this art form. So I'm curious if you had that same experience.
I think I did somewhat. I don't think my whole identity lied in playing the piano and being a pianist, but a big chunk of it was that because I spent so much time doing it, and so many people knew that aspect of my life that I did play the piano. Yeah.
When you got into the piano, like, was that something you wanted to do? Was that your parents? Like, what kind of got you started there?
That's so, yeah, I was going to touch on that too. It's so interesting that both of you guys have the same story of like having it be from the church, like how you guys got started. With me, it was my family's big on sports. Like my brother has played soccer, like my dad played like soccer and football. My mom was a cheerleader, like all this stuff. So I feel like it was always important in my family to like play a sport. So I would just like bounce around from like all these different sports. I'm like, none of these like stick. Like I did the soccer, I did the swimming, the gymnastics, like all those different things. And I remember I was in my parents' room and there was like this humongous concert going on and some guy was playing the piano in front of tens of thousands of people and everyone's like cheering. It sounded beautiful. And I just remember looking at that and I was like, I want to do that.
That's so
That's
cute.
beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's
Wow. That's actually adorable.
So I was like, I want to do that, and I will be that. Like I am going to do that. And I looked over to my mom and I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, however we can figure that out. Like, let's figure out lessons. Like, let's do something about that because I feel like I would be super passionate about that endeavor. And my parents were supportive, and there was a woman who lived in my neighborhood, and she did piano lessons. And a lot of my friends, actually, I didn't even realize a lot of my friends went to her for piano lessons. So that's just how I started. Like she was very talented, and she was like, yeah, let's get you playing the piano. And
That's so interesting to hear because I feel like when you're, how old were you again?
around like 8.
Around 8. I feel like your parents usually like tell
those
you
things, yeah.
they tell you what you're gonna be in. You're gonna be in sports, you're gonna be in music, la 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 la. And so like hearing that you were like, yo, I saw this piano
I want to do that.
and I want to do that, and that like your parents were supportive of that. Like I think that's really beautiful to hear, and I'm curious like if more people have had that experience. I like to think that if I went up to my mom and I was like, yo, I want to play this, and then she would be like, yeah, but I actually have a memory where I did that like with the cello or like with the flute or something because my friends played the flute and I was like, oh, it looks so cool to have a little I was like, I want to do that. And I remember asking my mom, I was like, yo, can I play flute? She was like, no. She was like, no. She's like, we have a violin in the family already, you're gonna stick to that one instrument.
I won't say though it was all butterflies and rainbows
Yeah.
the whole 10
fair.
years. Definitely in the beginning it was like that. And I remember my parents bought me a keyboard, so I would like play the keyboard, whatever, in the very beginning. And then my teacher was like, you need to actually like buy a piano, like, and It's
Fair.
a big feat. It's expensive.
money.
Like
That's
thousands,
money.
thousands of dollars to
That's
buy
money.
this
Girl.
piano. And I was like, yep, like let's buy the piano. And I remember we went to the store and my parents looked at me and they were like, if we buy this piano,
You better play it.
You're playing
Like,
until you
like-
graduate high school. And I'm 8 years old, so obviously I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it till I graduate high school. Like obviously that's a given. So we buy this piano and they're like, you're locked in for the next 10 years. That was a 10-year investment right there.
Wow.
Ooh.
That is so funny. I feel like that's how a lot of things are.
No,
like,
yeah.
with
Once
your
the money's in
parents,
it, you
Yeah.
gotta.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. So I buy it. You better keep playing it, man. So I'm thinking about your life right now. And do you ever feel a pull to go back to piano, whether it be in a recreational way or in a more serious, I want to actually get back into the profession? And I have another question, but I'll save it for after
Yeah.
you answer that one.
I don't know if I'll ever go back professionally. Looking on it now, I would like to, but I just think life is very hectic and chaotic and I just don't have enough time to dedicate to doing that, to do it professionally, even though I would want to. And it does hurt sometimes, like looking at the piano and realizing that I don't have the skills that I used to have. Because now I'll like go to the piano at home and I could play like a scale and an arpeggio. And I'm like, I used to be able to tear up
shreds.
I would tear that piano up to shreds. But like now I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, like I could.
It's like maybe.
Yeah.
I could play a scale. And,
Yeah.
I think like that aspect is a little discouraging. I do definitely want to get back into it 100%. It's hard though to know your potential and know how good you once were, and then to start all the way. Yeah.
Kyle,
There
you
it is.
speaking.
There it
You
is.
speaking.
There it is.
And to start all the way from step one.
Yeah.
And it's like I know how to do this already. Like I know this. So that part is difficult.
No,
I'd
that's
say.
thank you for highlighting that, because
good point.
that's what I fear
Yeah.
with dance. And I right now I'm in a space where I don't think I'm gonna give it up, because I think I would like to try dancing professionally once I graduate here. But even in thinking about just entertaining the thought of taking this next semester off, like it scares me, because like I think that I'm gonna lose all of my skill. And once I start trying to once I start getting back into the studio, I'm gonna have to start from square one. And I don't want to deal with that, of, those thoughts of, dang, I was once so good at this and now like I'm back at the beginning, because it's a lot of work. Like art is a lot of work. And like you said, like the commitment, I feel like sometimes there's no in between, and maybe this is just because I am so close to dance and it is so intertwined with my identity still. Like there is no, it's like you either do it fully 100% or you don't do it at all, because it requires a lot of time and it's not something that you can half do,
No, yeah.
As well as you can't put 50% of your effort and expect an amazing outcome when it comes to any art form.
Like if you're going to be in the studio, you got to be in the studio like consistently. And if you can't make that commitment, then unfortunately, like sometimes you are put in a position where it's like, okay, I'm just not going to do it at all. And I had another question, and it was, did you feel guilty when you walked away from the piano?
Dang. That was a hard hitter.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know necessarily guilty. I think in the time period where I walked away from the piano, I was kind of ready to walk away from it. But looking back on it, I wish I at least kept up somewhat, so then I would be able to pick it back up. Like I wish I like still looked at music or still was able to like play around with the keyboard or a piano. But it's hard when you go to college, like you're swamped with all this stuff, and then all that kind of just goes to the wayside. So maybe guilty a little, but I can't beat myself up over like
True.
a decision that happened years ago. So
So you mentioned being ready to walk away from the piano. Like, what kind of led you to being ready to walk away? Like, if you're able to, like, can you recall how you were feeling like at that time about the piano specifically?
Yeah. I think during my high school career, I did too much. Like, I think I focused.
That'll do it. Burnout.
That'll do it.
Burnout will do it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. I was focusing on way too much. I was doing like 10 million classes. I was leadership roles in 10 million different things. I was just juggling so much, and I would stay up till like 3 a.m, like doing all this stuff. I don't know how I did it personally. Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know how I did it personally, because you
I
won't
feel
catch
like
me
so
doing
many
that
people.
now.
You said this was in high school.
Yeah.
Bro,
I
you
feel
sound
like
like me.
so many people were like just going crazy.
College,
Going
because college
Like-
and extracurriculars. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this was just y'all real complete side story, but like the adults at school, like the teachers, admin, they were definitely stressing like, yeah, you want to make sure you have a good balance of extracurriculars and good grades. They talked a lot about, you know, students who had great grades, but they didn't do any extracurriculars because they were so worried about their grades. And then they weren't getting into these like top schools that they thought they'd get into.
Because of the lack of extracurriculars.
Yeah, because that's a big
Yeah.
thing. Like at the time, you know, undergrad schools were looking at like, okay, can you balance being a part of your community and your grades and not just being in your books? Like, we want someone who can be involved in the community and keep their grades up. And so that was something that was like being super stressed at the time, at least when I was applying. So I remember doing anything and everything, but then I'm in all honors courses, I'm in advanced courses, I'm in AP courses, and I'm leading 10 clubs.
Yeah. That is so interesting, because I feel like when I went to undergrad, or just when I started applying to colleges, like they weren't focused on the extracurriculars, like, or maybe I don't know, I wasn't really paying attention to everything. I don't know, like I just opened the application and I was like, okay, what do you need? Boom, boom, boom,
I
boom.
feel like it's
Put it in,
changed a
but-
lot.
It has now.
Like
for
it's very much looking for a very well-rounded individual rather than you got a 1600 on your SAT and you have a 4.0. It's like if you have that, that's amazing. That's great. You're an amazing student, but all you did was schoolwork.
Right.
Like you didn't do.
I see,
You
yeah.
didn't
It's like,
do
did you
anything
live?
else.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a kid. Did
Yeah.
Did you
you live?
live? Yeah. Did you live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, so it is common that just high schoolers just
Stress
be
themselves out.
going crazy with the hours of
Yeah.
just like,
Mm.
I do remember when I did extracurriculars, it wasn't for the sake of like college, but it was just because I just genuinely enjoyed, you know, being in the clubs, you know, staying after school, hanging out with my friends. And, but my schedule was crazy. Like I was waking up at 5 a.m. to get on the bus in the morning at school before everyone. When I tell you, I rolled up to school and there was nobody there. Like I got to school at like 6:45,
Immediately,
7. Classes.
No, sorry, horrible attendance.
No.
I'm not going.
No.
I mean, I would have gone, but like, wow,
No.
no,
That is so funny, girl. I was
girl,
up.
that's nuts.
up, girl. It was. We could touch on my background later, but
Man,
yeah, we were up
nuts.
really early, and I wouldn't leave school until like 8:45,
Oh, okay,
sometimes
now that-
9.
8:45 p.m.
Yeah, because
Listen,
because
I've
of
left
like
school at midnight.
because of okay, that's
Oh.
crazy.
Yeah, we used to-
No to both of those. Nah, I can't do that.
Yes.
But yeah, I would leave it like 8 because if it was say dance concert time or which I guess is kind of an extracurricular, but
There
it was
it
my
is.
major. But
There it
like
is.
Black History plays that I was in, you know, or sometimes just being at school was so fun. Like The people were just,
Yeah.
I mean, when you go to school with a whole bunch of artists,
It's
like,
that's why it was fun,
You should
because
be-
it's like you get it.
it's like
Oh,
victorious.
so you went to a
Yeah.
performing arts? Did
Yeah,
both
we
of
both
you
both of
guys-
us went
you
to performing
both
arts
did.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when it was
Okay.
like
It was
holiday
a time.
season,
It was a time.
musical season, listen, the all day rehearsals, the night rehearsals going on for 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
after school's over. My school would get out at 4:30. And so they'd give us about
4:30
an
is crazy.
Well, so we would start at 9.
That was us too. We used to get out.
Yeah, we would start at 9.
No, I take that back. We didn't get out that late. We got it at like 3:30.
Okay, yeah, 3:30.
I'm
We
sorry.
had an extra hour
Keep
for
on going.
ensemble work. No. The way they had it set up was like school starts at 9, you go through your academics, and then the last hour and a half, 2 hours of the day you spend in your ensemble. So like the entire orchestra working on their work, band working on their pieces, all of the dancers in every grade together, like working on their big performances for their fall concerts, the winter concerts, the big winter holiday spectacular that we would put on, which is the entire school and all the departments.
Everybody.
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 It sounds glorious, but it's literally hell. It's literally hell. Even now, like anytime I go back to visit, the kids are like, we're stressed because they're getting ready for the spectacular. It's quick changes for everybody. It's called the holiday spectacular, yeah. And it's nuts. It was nuts. 2 all-day rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much.
At
That's a lot.
15,
That's
the
a lot
first
of
time,
people.
That's too much.
you got to be careful. People who have mics on, it's like, listen, if you have a mic on, shut up if you're downstage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm part of this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, it's nuts. So like there were several times where I definitely remember my mom was picking me up from school at 11:30, almost midnight. And I'm like, cool. Do
That's
you have my
wild.
monster? Because I have to do homework.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's way
Midnight
too
is
much.
crazy. I'm
Yeah.
getting into bed.
Child, I was going to do homework and I had a little monster energy. Like, okay,
Monster.
Going-
child, ooh.
Y'all was just like me, staying up extra late trying to do
Yeah.
all this stuff. I feel
And
like I
then
didn't
you-
answer your question.
What
What was
the
my question?
I
We
don't
started
know.
with guilt. We started.
No,
with,
and then I asked, like, what drove you to like,
What drove you? Oh,
like-
having a busy schedule. What
What-
drove you to be ready to give up piano?
Yeah.
I have another story. What was the nail in the coffin?
yes.
Please share.
So
I
that
love a nail in the coffin.
that was the beginning phases, was me just being very busy with all that stuff, as well as the piano's hard. It's a difficult instrument to play, and it can become very frustrating. Like there's so many keys.
There's
If you
so
press
many.
one wrong key, then
That's
it's
it.
like
It is. Yeah.
like you just want to
Yeah.
you just want to smash the piano. Like, but I remember my very last recital that I did. It was, I don't know what like a 4-person piano piece is called. It was 4 people though.
Like a quartet.
A quartet, if you will.
Of people. This is nuts.
It was a quartet.
Like there were 4 pianos, or like you guys were
it
on
was
one piano.
it was 2 pianos and then two
people on each.
people
Oh,
on
Okay.
each.
that's still nuts.
And it was like a 10-page song that
Oh,
we were
gosh.
doing for the recital. And we don't do sheets of music at our recital. Like you memorize all of it.
Oh.
So
Oh, this was cutthroat.
it's cutthroat. This song
No.
was probably one of top 3 most difficult songs I've
He
ever
said, "I'm
played.
done."
And the 3 people who I was doing the quartet with are very, very talented pianists. I think the 4 of us were like, out of all of the students that she probably taught like 70 to 80 students, honestly.
Wow.
And I would say we were the top dog.
Come
Now I
on.
sound stupid saying that.
No,
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 say it. Like,
own it.
Okay,
listen,
but-
that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah,
And-
if you were good, you were good.
And that's why she wanted the 4 of us to play this piece, so then it could just be that final piece
Yeah.
of the whole entire recital. That's like, wow, like that was an amazing
with a banger.
piece. Yeah, and with a banger.
Might as
And
well.
I feel like I know where this story is going.
and I remember working on this song so much. Like it was such a difficult song, and I felt myself falling behind the other three, and they were like,
The actual day of the recital.
we're getting to
Oh,
that.
okay,
We're
okay.
getting to that.
So this is just like
this is just
technique-wise,
the rehearsals and like all that stuff, preparing for the recital. I was just very busy. They were younger than me as well. Like I was focusing on a lot of things. So they were going. And I remember during one of like the last rehearsals of the four of us, I remember my teacher was like, you have to go slower because of Kyle. Like Kyle can't keep up. Like
that would have ripped me apart.
because they were going at sonic speed. Like they were playing this song at sonic speed. I was like, yeah, we gotta play it like this because your boy can't do it like that.
Yeah.
And it stressed me out because I knew when it comes to recital day, you play your songs faster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
like
adrenaline kicks in, and
you're
you
preparing
start,
to play it faster.
Yeah, you normally play it faster because you're a little nervous, whatever. So I was practicing a bunch to try and perfect it as much as possible because I knew it was probably gonna go quick. And I remember getting up there. It's recital day, like everybody plays. I'm nervous. I go up there, and we, like, the song begins. We all start playing, and off rip, I mess up. And then I'm hearing the song, and like it doesn't sound right. And then I'm like, uh-oh. And I'm looking, and I'm like, oh no, like I'm the one who's playing it wrong. And then the song picks up, and everybody starts playing super duper fast. And then I just lost it. Like, and I was messing it up. And then I just like took my hands like off the piano, and I was like, oh yeah,
You're like, I'm packing it up.
You're like,
We're
done.
done.
I'm done.
And it was bad because I probably messed up on page 2, and
Out of 10.
we got
Out of 10,
we got 8 pages to go. So I was just sitting there like,
Yeah.
And once, especially with that song, when you lose your footing, when
It's hard to get back in.
you can't, you literally can't get back in. Like when it came to that song, like if you messed up, like you're
That's
done.
it. Yeah.
That's it. And I remember my teacher, she like didn't even tell me good job or anything. Like I just left. I just left the recital. I was like,
Dang.
yeah, I did bad.
Dang.
That's what ended it. That was the nail in the coffin, where I kind of was just like, I'm leaving for college soon. I don't have time for another recital. I spent all this time, months and months and months and months preparing for this piece, and like the one time that I needed to perform it,
It just didn't.
It didn't happen. Yeah.
it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like music is hard.
Incredibly.
Music is so hard, because I've had an experience like that too when I played the violin, and it was, I feel like it was my tipping point too. I was like, I'm done. I'm hanging it up. I'm not doing this anymore. Doing 2 arts at the same time, it was very clear which one I was good at and which one I wasn't. Like, dance always just came so naturally, but the violin, I always had to like put 10 times more effort into it, just to be somewhat good, not even at the level of everyone that's in the room with me. But it was, let's see, it was 8th grade, and we had to do 8th grade recitals, and it was encouraged that everybody do a solo, and I did not want to do a solo because
I'm sorry to cut you off. Did you do a performing arts school throughout K through 12?
Yeah, I did. In middle school.
Okay.
It was when I started going to performing arts school, and then high school.
Okay.
And so, yeah, in 8th grade, we had 8th grade recitals, and it was encouraged that all the 8th graders do a solo, but I was not confident in my skill at all. But I was like, okay, I know I can hang in there if I need to. I can blend when we play with the group.
Yeah, we can blend
But
in, but
baby,
when by yourself.
Baby, if I'm on my own, we just...
It's like, it may not sound the way you think it will.
Exactly. And so I remember I was like, I'm not going to do it. But my director, he was like, no, Kira, like, you should do it. You're fine. And so we picked out a solo and everything. And everybody that played the violin was insane. They were
That's usually
they were insane. Yeah. They were so good. And I saw how naturally it came to them. And I was like, you put no effort into that at all. And you sound amazing. Yeah. You know, but here I am practicing my butt off for hours and I'm still not getting it right. Like I still can't get through the first page without messing up. Like, you know? And so anyway, moving the story along. There we go. I went forward with doing the solo and I practiced. And I got to a point where I actually felt like confident. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go onto the stage. I'm going to own it, whatever. Get onto the stage. Oh my God.
It didn't go as practiced.
It didn't. It did not.
It didn't go as
It
planned.
did not. And I felt so embarrassed because everyone else that did their solos before me were incredible. And then there was me and I started off good. But then like once I got to the middle and it was like 2 or 3 pages long. Once I got to the middle of the first page, like I just like completely messed it up and the whole orchestra's playing behind me. You got people like, baby.
Oh, so it was a solo.
It was
solo.
a solo. Girl.
I thought this was like a solo by yourself.
No.
Oh wow, so you had orchestra.
I had the
Everyone's
orchestra.
relying on
Everyone's relying on me, you know, and
wow.
you know, once I do a certain
I
note,
love
that's
what
when they
piece this
know
was.
to do. Baby, it was out of Suzuki book.
Oh, okay, got you.
And
well,
me and Suzuki, I want to
honestly.
Me and
to this
Suzuki
day,
are not friends. like
it's fisticuffs.
Suzuki solos just are hated them.
Me and Suzuki, we need to melee because
they just ugh.
it's no.
Like they that girl, but at the same time I'd be like, please leave me alone.
No.
But yeah, the whole orchestra was relying on me and it was terrible. No, you're okay. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask, did you guys like what genre did you guys like to play, like classical or jazz or
classical, but my orchestra we sometimes did like Harry Potter or a theme from another movie or something, maybe like Agincourt, like you know there were you know plops of pop every now and then, but for the most part it was classical. At least when I was like doing like solos and stuff, it was always classical music.
Yeah, I think for me it was mostly classical. Like I grew up being classically trained, but like my first school instructor, a lot of the songs we did were, you know, bluegrass or jazz related in some kind of way.
Sorry guys, the audio and video may have just jumped a little bit. We had a little situation, my camera died, and so we had to plug her up and move her back a little bit. Yeah. But we're back on track. Mars is gonna continue sharing really quick about
me, you know, occasionally played like Western music. So we did this. One of the most like enchanting things that we did, I will say, is the musical theater music. These were like old musical theater pieces. So like Porgy and Bess, Carousel. Oh, wow. Talk about a swoon. Like, I definitely remember that. But for the most part, it was like different genres within the classical category. Even when it came down to like our solo pieces that we had to do for like the solo and ensemble festival.
Oh my gosh, solo and ensemble.
Which we were required to do. We had to do a chamber piece and also a solo. So yeah, having to do that, I was like, okay, this is what it is. I didn't really get to start choosing the genres that I was playing and getting to decide what I really like to play on my own until undergrad with the instructor that we mentioned last time. And that's because she was like, yeah, what do you enjoy playing? Like, I want this to be enjoyable for you. Yeah. So she was that turnaround for me because I was 5 seconds from not going into music at all. Like when I was applying to schools, it was either okay, I'm gonna do music ed or psychology. So my top two schools.
That's me.
Yeah. So had I chose to go to the HBCU, I would have been in psychology. I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah.
I think it's important to play what you want to play because that's what makes it enjoyable. If you hate classical music, why are we gonna be sitting here and playing classical music, you know? And I remember when I was playing, I used to play like a lot of classical, and I told my teacher, I was like, I don't like classical. I like jazz music. I think jazz music is amazing and beautiful, and that's what I want to play. I don't want to play classical. So
And I think that's, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that's awesome that when you went to undergrad that you were able to explore those different avenues, those different routes of kind of just seeing what your music taste was rather than being assigned like you played this or you played that. Like, no, I'm going to play
what I'm interested in.
What I'm truly interested
Yeah.
in.
And I was just going to say, I feel like when you decide to pursue art in an academic setting, sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for because like my sister, for example, she's studying vocal performance. Or she just graduated yesterday, actually. So proud of her. But she's studying vocal performance, and she likes producing. Like, she produces her own music, like she does pop and jazz and all that stuff. But as soon as she decided to major into it, she had to learn classical.
Yeah.
Like, my sister's singing opera now, and she's good at it, you know. And I think that it's exciting for her, but I don't know if that's what she was expecting when she initially like signed up to do it. Like, I think she thought that, oh, you know, if I'm going to major in this, I can do what I want to do. And like going back to what you said, it's important to do what you like to do because it's a significant factor that can determine burnout.
Oh, for sure.
Like, because if you're forcing yourself to do something for years
that you don't want to do,
and you may like the instrument or you may like dancing, but if the style that you're practicing in is not something that interests you, then it's like, I want to give this up.
100%.
I'm done. I want to leave it.
And it's hard, even when you do like the style, but there are aspects of it that you're like, why does it have to be like that? That also makes it hard because then it's like, I like the song, but I don't like playing the song. And because I do have some enjoyment for the song, it's like, I don't want to work on this. It's not what I want to be playing. And that was like a big disconnect for me, was like, I enjoy classical music and I enjoy playing certain genres of it. And I'll listen to it whenever. But actually playing it sometimes was incredibly exhausting just because of a lot of the technique that goes into it. And that's where I was like, I don't want to be doing this anymore, especially when, again, you're playing it for a grade or you're playing it because this is something you have to do and you're required to do it. And it's like, I don't, like, it's more comfortable. It feels better when you have the choice to do it. And taking it into academia, like, it takes away that choice for you. It does
take away that choice because it's like, I talked about this a lot in my adult education course. As much as in academia, teachers like to think, or like teachers like to structure their lesson plans or like their curriculum around being student-centered, 9 times out of 10 it's still not student-centered. You know, it's not looking at the needs and the wants of the students and then structuring the plan for the day off of that. It's the teacher comes in, I'm telling you what to do. And like, mind you, like, I get it, you know, if this is the curriculum that we are supposed to be teaching students, then like we can't really get away from that. But it just like,
it makes it hard.
It makes it hard. Like, it makes it hard to keep going and want to choose to keep doing this thing that once brought you love, but now it's just like making you really sad.
And
puts
even
pressure on you as well to do that stuff.
It puts pressure on the student. It puts pressure even on the teacher to a certain extent, because it may not be noticeable as the student, but like, now having been on both sides of that, the teacher can definitely see when the students aren't feeling it, and it's hard for them to actually do it. And it's so interesting to see, especially like in high schoolers. Like, I distinctly remember when I was student teaching for the secondary portion of my senior year, there was a piece that the kids just weren't really into, and you could tell. But I will say the one good thing that like my mentor teacher did to kind of balance it out was that he chose the first 2 to 3 pieces, and then he let the last piece be like a group decision. And so that gave them some kind of agency a little bit, and they were obviously really into that one, but that made them a little bit more into the others as well, because they were like, oh, we want to do all these so we can get to this one. So it worked pretty well, but you know, that's not the case in every district, in every area. That's just a school here in New York.
Yeah. Oh,
So.
and that's a whole nother.
That's a whole different thing. We're gonna get into that.
Schools and different districts, and depending on where you are, because baby Texas is different from New York, and Florida is different from.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many things to talk about.
So many things.
But I think we're gonna have to start coming to a close. But I wanted to end by asking you, Kyle, if you had to give some advice to people who are within the arts and thinking about stepping away from it, what would you say to them?
I would say make sure that you're ready to step away, as well as it can just be difficult to step away from this stuff if you've put so much time and effort into this art. So just make sure that you're truly okay and truly prepared to leave that, and to always make sure it has a special place in your heart, because you have dedicated so much time to doing that. That's what I'd say.
Mars, what would you say?
I don't know if I can speak to that.
Or what would you say to people who are in the arts but are wanting to take a break? Because I feel like taking a break is different from stepping away completely, and I think that that's the phase that we're in right now.
It's only hard not to take a break, and it's like you're gonna grapple with it, but be okay with knowing that, like, wherever it is that you're taking a break, whether, you know, it's coming out of high school or coming out of undergrad or even going into like a master's program, like where specifically you and I are, taking that break, it's okay to do so, and to give yourself that peace and let yourself gradually fall back into it. Don't put yourself on a deadline to get back into it. You can get back into it whenever you feel is appropriate for you. And the biggest challenge is just going to be being okay with it and not, you know, beating yourself up over, oh, well, I still haven't done this, or it's been so long since I've done that. That's okay. You'll get back into it when you get back into it, if you get back into it, and that's okay. But you have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
I would also say, I got another piece.
Add it. We're all ears.
I would say it's like, don't beat yourself up. It's okay to explore different avenues, and you ending that chapter of your life isn't the end all be all, like it may seem. If your identity is so wrapped into that art, if you do leave it, it can seem like a complete identity crisis. It's okay to just take things one day at a time and really just explore what makes you happy, what makes you you, because there could be multiple different things that, you know, you have passions for. It doesn't have to just be one thing.
Yeah. Kira, what would you say? What would be the advice that you give?
That's a good question. It's funny because I asked it and I don't even know what I would say.
Put you on the spot.
Hot seat.
I don't know, because I think I'm still grappling with the fact that I am taking a break. Like it has been very difficult. But I think I'm coming to learn that it's okay for life to be open-ended, or for you to be in a season of life where it's open-ended and you genuinely don't know what the next day or what the next 5 minutes of your life is going to look like. Like, I think I'm so used to, since my identity is, you know, so heavily influenced like by dance, I was so used to having a very prescribed, you know, this is what I'm going to say every single time someone asks me, who am I? And that was, I'm Kira the dancer. But now that I've walked away from it, like, trying not to put pressure on myself of finding a label that fits what I am or who I am in this season, because I don't know. And like, it's okay to not know. It's okay to explore other interests. It's okay to have other interests, and you don't have to feel guilty about that. And that, you know, dance is like, it's like a relationship. You know, it's like a relationship with my home. It's like a relationship with people. Like, you know, I love it, but sometimes I need space from it too. Yeah. And it doesn't make me love it any less. It doesn't mean that I'm closing the door on it forever, but it's like, I have to give myself the ability to look at what life looks like without it. And it's always there. I can go back to it. You know, I can go take a class any day, but again, there's no pressure. Just like what you said, like go back to it when you want to go back to it, when you feel like it's the right time to go back to it, because if you force it upon yourself, then your relationship with it is only going to get worse. So I guess just giving myself space, give yourself time to not have it figured out and know that you can go back to it anytime that you want. So
I actually do have a final question for you, Kyle.
Lay it on them.
More questions.
I promise you, this one isn't nearly as deep as that.
Sorry, I had the hard hitters.
You gotta get them.
You gotta get them.
While you're
gotta
here.
do it. Gotta do
Right.
it. I'll be back.
Episode 3.
Right.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Mars is like,
Well.
he's not coming back. He's not coming back. No.
He'll be back.
We're actually going to delete this episode and re-record it without Kyle.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, so
I
sorry,
mean,
guys.
Fair enough, right?
This will never be released. Just kidding.
Put it in the
Unreleased.
archives.
Right. There we go. No, but in your advice, you definitely mentioned like about keeping it close to you in some kind of way. So it made me wonder, do you see a future where the piano might be a part of it a little bit? Even if it's like...
Wait, Mars, say it one more time. I don't know why. Y'all are making me laugh. Okay.
Funny people.
Y'all funny. Okay.
Happy people. Y'all know that song?
No.
No.
Oh my God.
That'll...
Sorry.
It's okay.
Maybe we know more of it. I don't
I'm
know.
sorry. I'm
Just
sorry.
continue.
Oh, okay. So sorry.
It's fine.
So sorry. Wow.
Keeping
Words.
it close to you.
Keeping it
Yes,
close to
yes,
you.
yes.
Do you see a future for you at some point where the piano is back in your life?
Yes. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I honestly, when I go back home for break, when I go back to Florida, I definitely will be playing a little bit, because it does suck when, how do I put it into words, like people know that about me, and then you'll see a piano and it's like, oh, Kyle, come play us something, go do something, and then I'm like, oh, like I can't.
No.
It's like,
No, walks away.
no.
no, red heart. No.
But I say no because like genuinely I can't do it anymore. Like I haven't like played like a real song in a couple years. So I do want to go back so that I'm able to like show that side of me, like show that. So I definitely do think it will be present in my life. It's just hard to bring it into it when there's so many things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to display that side of me to other people, because all I can do is talk about it, you know, like I could talk about it, but I can't show you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's so valid. And I think that's also a part of like stepping away, is that it doesn't have to always be away, and
Yeah, you can go back.
it's okay to bring it back recreationally. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily a part of your identity again. It could just be a nice pastime, which is something kind of like my aunt does now. She's no longer a pianist, but she gave me my first few piano lessons when I started on that. And when we had a piano, occasionally we'd hear her in the house, like she might go and hit a couple keys, and then all of a sudden she's coming back, and now she's playing
Shredding.
a whole song, and
Yeah.
she's
Shredding.
just
That's
remembering.
what I want for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And she'll do that every now and then. But, you know, she doesn't classify herself as a pianist, and she hasn't while I've been alive. She never did. But, you know, it's okay to do that as a pastime of like, yeah, you know, I like the way this sounds and how it feels, but it's not a part of me anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah, I do that with violin. I mean, and I played the piano for tiny bit. I have my like 3 staple songs that I will play in front of anybody, and I'm like, yeah, I can play, but
see, that's what I need, and I messed up in that regard because that's what I should have done. I should have had those staple songs where I could be like, oh, yep, I can play the piano, and let me do it. But yeah, I don't have that.
Just get those 3 staple songs and you'll be good. But every time I go home too, I'll like pull out my violin just to make sure that I can like still read music, or you know, my hands still know the positions and stuff. And then about 15 minutes, I'm like, all right,
no, I feel that.
I've had enough. Yeah. But you know, just still trying to keep up with it, and because it was a part of you at some point. And I think that, you know, if you want, you don't have to just shove it out. You know, like you can still acknowledge that it was there. Even if it was a bad relationship with it, you know, in my case, like it's fine.
It's fine.
That happens. It happens.
Hated the violin, y'all. Hated it.
Fair. Listen, it may be my child, but I get it.
Yeah.
It is the love-hate relationship.
Love-hate relationship.
So
with art in general. Like, I feel like everyone experiences that with
something.
With something.
That was my relationship with like visual arts.
I can't even talk about visual arts right now.
Listen, I almost went that route.
Episode 3.
I did. I almost went that route, but it was so frustrating. So I get it. I
can't do it. But okay, I think
that's it.
I think we did it. Kyle, you did it.
You made it to the end.
You did it. We're so proud of you.
Truly, and thank you for joining us and giving us your input. It's been so very valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me on. It was fun. This is a brand new experience. I've never done something like this before. Yay. And I'm happy that I got to do it with you guys.
Oh,
very happy. Yeah.
You gonna make me cry.
My little heart.
You gonna make me cry.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode 2, y'all. It's been real. It's been funny.
It's been a time.
Per usual.
Right.
We'll see you next week.
Next week we'll be talking about representation and all things that. So we're excited and looking forward to you guys tuning in again.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, bye-bye.
Goodbye.